in a world full of negative people. Hey man, I'm just trying to be a positive guy, a positive farmer, a positive outfitter. This is a Shark Farmer podcast with your host, Rob Sharkey. Whatever.
And welcome again to Shark Farmer Podcast. Hey, I'm your host, Rob Sharkey, and today we're going to go to Missouri. We're going to go to Martinsburg, Missouri. We're going to talk to Gavin Spoor. How you doing, Gavin?
Pretty good. Thanksgiving went successful, so I'm stuffed.
Did you eat too much?
Oh, way too much. 3 or 4 or 5 meals a day.
Uh-huh. Now, do you go like at a family gathering for your Thanksgiving?
Yeah, we've got a couple. So I've got my mom's side that the family will go to, and then I also spent the night last night at my girlfriend's house and ate plenty of food there, too.
Uh-huh. So if you're spending the holidays with the air quotes girlfriend, that's fairly serious.
Yeah, we've been going about a year and a half, 2 years, so she helps me out on the farm when she can. It's going pretty good.
Does she like you?
Yeah, I think so. Yesterday, we went Black Friday shopping, and we went to Harbor Freight and bought some tools, and she sat there in the truck while I listened to Shark Farmer Podcast. So I think she likes me a little bit if she's willing to do that.
Harbor Freight, Shark Farmer Podcast, pickup. Put a ring on that.
Yep, she's a pretty good girl.
It's after Thanksgiving. Don't they have like some Cyber Monday engagement ring deals or something like that?
Oh, they could be. With the way farming prices went this year, though, I think I'm going to have to put engagement rings off another year. I'm going to have to do some more saving.
Do they sell those at Harbor Freight?
I wish.
I don't know. I'll have to check into that. But, we're going to stop talking about them. Do you know why?
Why is that?
Because they don't advertise. Hey, let's talk about Grain PhD. You ever heard of them?
I haven't. Enlighten me.
Okay. Now, first of all, don't confuse them with my benevolent overlord's Ag PhD. This is Grain PhD. This is marketing. It provides education, free software. I mean, you're in college, right?
Yeah.
So the word free ought to get your attention, hadn't it?
Oh, I love that word.
Exactly. It's their GrainBridge software, and it's like how you market. All right. And we're going to get into, you're growing popcorn, correct?
Mm-hmm. Whole lot of it.
Growing popcorn, you're in college, so you're familiar with supply and demand, right?
Yes.
So let's say that people are loving popcorn, right? And the market's skyrocketing, and you're feeling pretty good about it. And you're like, I'm just going to hold on to this popcorn because the market's just going to continue to go up. You've got it all figured out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Then let's say some politician tweets something about popcorn, and then all of a sudden the market crashes. That would never happen, would it, Gavin?
Oh, never.
No. Or let's say like China decides all of a sudden that none of their people want to eat popcorn anymore. What would happen then?
I'd have a hard time getting it sold, I'd say.
Okay, let's turn back the clock, shall we? Let's turn back the clock to where you were all smug and you were thinking, hey, I can wait till the price goes up. What if you were plugged into a free software program where you could put in all your expenses and you put in what you want to make and your break evens and all that, and you're using that, and it says, you know what, you got to sell some, Gavin, when I use this software. I feel like it's talking to me. You got to sell some, Rob, you moron, because the price could go down, even though I'm sitting there all smug and stuff. No, it's going to go up. But I listen to the software, and I sell a little bit. Then when a certain somebody tweets or a certain country says the heck with us and the market plummets, I don't feel so bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
You should definitely go and sign up for this thing. I'm not even sure if they're onto the popcorn market, but it doesn't matter. The fundamentals are the same, right? Supply and demand. You've heard of them?
Oh, for sure. And as being a young farmer, not having much marketing skills yet, as far as marketing my corn and soybeans, that would be really handy.
For years, my marketing plan, it wasn't the best, but it is what it is. What we did was like when we had a bill come up, I would go and sell some corn to cover that bill. That I would not suggest.
That's one way to market.
I'm going to say no. The website is grainphd.com. And believe me, this is not me. This is very, very smart marketing people. My marketing plan would be Grain GED.
Oh.
Yeah.
You got to give yourself some more credit.
No. There's things in life that I can do very well, Gavin, and then there's marketing. So, yes, I know that I need help with this, and these guys have been fantastic. Gavin Spoor, from Missouri. All right, you are still in school, correct?
Correct. I'm a senior at the University of Missouri. I'm a Tiger.
Okay. I mean, is that an accredited university?
I'd like to think so. Land grant university and smack dab in the middle of the state.
Okay, and what are you studying?
So I'm studying ag systems management, which is kind of a glorified farm boy degree. You get a little bit of everything. You get some electricity class, how to conserve soil, some marketing, some business classes. You kind of pull the best classes from every different major and they put it into this one, and some engineering classes also. So I struggle with that a little bit, but I'm on track to graduate next May.
You're doing a deal where you're taking like all of the ag school and you're bunching it up and it's in one major. Is that fair?
Pretty close, and then we get some engineering classes in there also, so some major specific classes. But yeah, overall, we kind of just get to pull the best classes from all the different majors, and the guys that major in that, they'll end up going and either managing an elevator or a local co-op location or back to the family farm. So it's a good, well-rounded degree. You learn a whole lot.
We might have to come back to this degree thing, but tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us some background.
I'm a first-generation farmer from here in east central Missouri. Started with 6 acres 3 years ago, 6 acres of soybeans I cash rented. And from there, I've grown it into what I've got going on now. I'm growing 5 different colors of popcorn and soybeans and sunflowers and kind of got my hand in a lot of different things. So it keeps me very busy with a full-time class schedule also, but I enjoy every minute of it.
I guess it begs the question, right? First generation farmer. So you did not grow up on a farm.
Correct. We grew up here in the country. I lived with my mom and dad here growing up, and dad works at a brick plant. They make house bricks, and then my mom's a nurse in the next town over. We live in a farmhouse surrounded by farmland, but no one in my family farms. But whenever you're 3, 4, 5 years old, you know, you love loud tractors and diesel smoke and just turning dirt. I mean, that's every young boy's dream. Then growing up, as I got older, 7, 8, 9, 10, into middle school, I'd beg my mom every day after I got home from school if she'd call the neighbor and I could go ride with him in the tractor. I had a group of 5 or 6 different farmers I'd go ride with every day in the spring and fall if they were out working. And that just really helped develop my passion for agriculture. And I took off to college. I wasn't sure how I was going to make a farm work, so I went to get the degree my freshman year, and I was going to go chase that corporate job in the city for a few years and save up some money and buy a farm. But I got the opportunity to rent some ground there after my freshman year and started growing this operation. So
you were like 18 when you started that then?
19, I believe, I guess, is when I signed the contract for that 6 acres. Pretty young, but I was ready to tackle it.
Huh. Okay, let's go back to when you were pestering your neighbors, all right? How did that go? I mean, when you showed up, were they like rolling their eyes, or were they actually like wanting to explain to you how things worked?
I'd like to think that they really enjoyed it. See, they're in their mid-50s, I'd say now. They didn't have any sons on the operation helping them out, and I by no means was I able to help them on the farm, but I was just this young little boy from down the road that really loved farming and had no way to farm himself. So I didn't have a dad to go ride with in a tractor, but I had all these neighbors, and they'd love whenever I'd come. I'd pester them with questions for at least a couple rounds. If I was lucky, a couple hours, just watch the grain feed in the combine or watch them plant corn or soybeans, and I had a grand old time.
So you actually, even though you didn't have a farm background of riding with these guys, you had an understanding of how stuff kind of worked.
Oh my, you should see the stack of Tractor House magazines I had growing up, successful farming. I consumed everything. I was probably the one farm boy who didn't have a family that farmed that just loved it more than anything.
Did you have a bunch of Tractor House under your mattress?
I did. I'd get scissors and I'd cut everything out that I wanted and lay it out on copy paper. I'd cut out a combine and 5 or 6 tractors, and then I would put that at the top of the paper, and down underneath I'd put all the implements and what each one would be pulling. I had grain bin layouts drawn out on papers and then notebooks, and I'd have teachers get mad at me in grade school because I'd spend more time reading Successful Farming than I would anything else. I wouldn't do my assignments.
It's a fine publication, by the way. Just saying.
Yeah, great magazine.
If you had to guess, why would you think you had this love of ag at such a young age?
You know, I've spent a lot of time thinking about that myself, and I really have no clue where it came from. My mom always said when I was 3 years old, the second that I could poke my head over the windowsill in my kitchen, I would be watching farmers drive around with tractors, and I don't know why. I thought this equipment was big and awesome, and no one ever told me I couldn't do it. So I just continued to kind of chase that dream and see it where it could take me.
They're fascinating. Tractors, farm equipment, stuff like that's fascinating. And I think maybe agriculture is starting to realize that a little bit, that even if you just put a picture of a tractor like on social media or something, it's going to grab attention. It is what it is. People love machinery. Just the other day, I was on a plane for the first time that was getting de-iced. I've never experienced that. I had my nose pressed to the window like a 5-year-old watching this. I was taking pictures and videos. It was the neatest thing I'd ever saw. So I got to imagine people that aren't involved in agriculture, when they see these big tractors, when they see the dirt being turned, they're probably just the same way.
Oh, yeah. I have conversations with people all the time, even about crops. Was talking to a group of people, they had no clue where sunflower seeds came from. They knew sunflowers existed, and they knew sunflower seeds existed, but they'd never been up close with that. And just the plants, how they grow, fascinate them. So machinery is even more. There's so many moving parts, so much stuff going on to keep track of. It's like a giant robot nowadays.
They come from the grocery store. Duh. Come on, Gavin. Aren't you supposed to be in school?
Yeah, I get to most all my classes, and if I have to miss one for something, I make sure to email my professor, and they're pretty understanding.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I had to help on the farm was code for I'm way too hungover, professor, when I was going to school.
I wish I had time to go out more. That's probably going to be one of my regrets later in life, is I didn't spend more time just having fun in college. I kind of got right to starting the business and everything, but no, overall it's going good, and I try to sneak out with some friends and go out on the town every chance I get.
Let's talk about when you're 18 or 19, you get a chance to rent some ground. Take me through that process. First of all, was it a deal where like, oh, finally someone's going to rent it into me, I'm just going to jump into it, which, hey, believe me, all of us do. Or did you have this meticulously planned?
I knew I'd wanted to farm some ground for a while, and I wasn't sure where I was going to find it at, but I've got a friend I graduated high school with, and he's got a house, and he bought about 40 acres, and there was mainly woods, but there was 6 acres that was tillable on it. I thought, well, that's a perfect opportunity. I had enough money saved up in high school working odd and end jobs that I wouldn't have to get a huge loan to farm 6 acres. Just put the seed and fertilizer down would be fairly inexpensive my first year out. So I signed a contract on it, even though it was only 6 acres. It's good to be professional. I'm still farming it today, actually. I was working for a guy at the time, a really good guy, has taught me a lot about farming, and I was able to exchange of labor, use his equipment. At that time, I couldn't go buy a tractor and a planter and all this machinery to do 6 acres,
Sure.
But I was working for him already. And once we got all of his crops in, he let me use his disc. I disked the field up and then went and planted it. And then again that fall, after we got all his crop out, he was able to swing in with his combine and basically go down and back 2 times and had the field done. But for me, it was just, that was my first crop. They averaged close to 60, which was just amazing. Really good soybeans that year, and almost filled the whole grain cart up, older John Deere grain cart. And I was on top of the world, taking them into the elevator. It was a pretty neat experience since I'd wanted to do that since I was so young, and getting to do it for the first time, it was great. And actually out of that almost a full grain cart of soybeans, I'd went into the local elevator midsummer, and I asked him, I said, what's the minimum amount that you would contract? And he said, oh, we do 1,000 bushel minimum. I said, would you do 100? Would you do 100 bushel contract just for me? Because beans were like 10.02 at the time. And he kind of looks at me and smirks. He said, yeah, we can do that for you. So I contracted 100 bushels of soybeans midsummer, and I worried all summer if I was going to have enough to fill that contract.
For the 100.
They turned out really good.
How many times that first year did you walk that field?
Oh, more than I could count.
Yeah.
And we sprayed it, but I didn't like seeing weeds out there. So even I had my younger brother in high school, and me and a couple other people, we went and walked it too and grabbed every stinking water hemp we could find and ripped it out. I didn't want any weeds in that field.
You think 6 acres, is not a big deal until you do. You start walking and pulling beans, and it's like, my goodness, this will take forever.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd spent a couple afternoons on it, getting all the stuff that escaped the sprayers. So, But overall, it went really good. I got super lucky with how good the beans did. It was just rain and sunshine, and I can't control either of those things, but we had plenty of both that year. So from there, I was able to use the income from that 6 acres. I put a down payment on my first tractor, and I've been growing ever since.
Really? What was the first tractor?
International 1066.
Oh, yeah.
It's got a cab and duals and everything. We don't have air conditioning or radio, but those aren't necessities.
You
So
got iPods and a window to open.
Yeah. Yep. That's what I do most of my tillage and planting with.
Okay.
I guess all of it. That's my only tractor. So
very cool. I mean, that is really neat to hear. Okay, but take us through the transition. You grew soybeans your first year. How did we get to popcorn?
Great question. So after that first year, I was just kind of thinking, man, with the way corn and bean prices are going right now, if I really want to farm, no one's going to give me money to do corn and beans because I have no leverage on anybody. You know, I don't have paid for equipment or paid for ground. I'm a high cost producer. I need to be a low cost producer. So I can't compete on the corn and soybean market. So I thought, well, let's diversify. Let's get creative here and see what I can think of. And I thought about vegetables because there's a good market for that. Just produce right from the farm. People are really getting into that sort of thing. But being a full-time college student, I don't have time to sit by that stand all day. So I had to get creative again. And I thought, well, popcorn, let's see what's going on here. Did some looking online, saw some other families are doing it across the U.S. similar to what I am, networked with them, talked to them, picked their brains on what worked and what didn't, and realized I could use the same equipment. I just need a corn planter and I need a combine. You change the settings a little bit, but overall it's fairly similar. Growing season's the same. You basically treat it all the same. And I took a huge leap on 15 acres that first year I did popcorn. Second year I was farming, and first year doing popcorn, 15 acres, which doesn't sound like a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, but when you're staring at a giant pile of popcorn and if you don't sell it, no one's going to sell it for you, that's pretty intimidating. There's a lot to get rid of.
Mm-hmm. I think that's very interesting because you did not have an ag background. I wonder if you did. I wonder if you were a farm kid and you grew up and you're starting out, even with it's 6 acres, you would have that same mindset because it seems like you're ingrained from a young age. You grow the crops that have always been grown there. You know, in the I-States, you grow corn and soybeans. You know, wherever you are, you grow those crops. Here you could tell right away, if I want to continue farming, I'm going to have to diversify like that. So would you think that you not having a farm background actually helped with your decision to go with popcorn?
I do. I think it's helped a lot. It would have been nice to come from a family farm with some ground ready to farm, but not being from a family farm, I had to get creative. So it's kind of helped me. And you seem to only grow if you're put under stress. If I had 1,000 acres coming my way and I knew I could make the payments, I wish I could do something like that, but I wouldn't have been as stressed to figure out an interesting way to try to make some money off of fewer acres. So popcorn is what it is, and it's been going really good. I got lucky, and we grew a great crop that first year, and then this year we had good yields too. But like you said, yeah, I don't think if I would have been from a family farm, I would have got this creative. And it's mainly only because I had to. If I wanted to survive and grow my farm, I had to get creative and do something like this.
Is popcorn something that you can grow year after year or so, or do you have to break that up with soybeans?
So I'll break it up with soybeans, and even sunflowers was in my rotation. So that's another crop I added for this year. My third year farming was sunflowers and instead of soybeans. And I'm going to do a similar to the popcorn, go direct to consumer. I'm going to do the same thing with sunflower seed, go to the bird seed market. And actually, I didn't realize it until a couple weeks ago, but you can also feed them to goats. Goats love sunflower seed. So I've got some guys calling me that have a goat herd that want to buy some of my production also. So eventually, yeah, I'd like to do popcorn and sunflowers in a rotation instead of corn and soybeans.
To goats. You're kidding me.
Yeah. I swear, yeah. You couldn't make this story up.
Kid. It's a play on words. Kid, goat. It's okay. Yeah, we're doing fine, Gavin. Even if you decide that you're going to grow popcorn, selling it's a different thing. Do you just call up Garrett's and say, hey, buy my stuff? So
what I did was, instead of calling Garrett's, I just started walking into grocery stores. Had to figure out packaging and everything. I walked into my first grocery store before I ever had harvest completed. You know, I wanted to have this game plan ready to go whenever the crop was done. I knew I had a place for it to go, and walked into a grocery store. The first person I ran into was the cashier, And I said, hey, I need to talk to your manager. And this poor girl, she had this look in her eye like, oh, what did I do wrong? Why does this guy want to go talk to my manager? And I said, no. I've got a product. I want to figure out what it takes to sell it in here. Went and got him and just had a good chat with him about what I was doing, and he was interested in it. And at this time, I had no clue what it took to sell in a grocery store. I was trying to get an idea of what I had to get done. And he said, you need nutrition facts, you need a scannable barcode, and you need packaging that's not tamper-proof. No one can, break into it if they want.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, okay, well, that's a good list. So I went home and I did my homework and figured out where to get barcodes from, what that cost to have that subscription for a year. Went to the University of Missouri. There's a guy in the food sciences department. He made my nutrition facts and found some packaging online that's heat sealable once I put it in there so no one can tamper with it. And then after harvest, I slapped all of it together and went back in the store and said, this is what I've got. I provided a stand free of charge if they were willing to carry my product. And that's what I did all last Christmas break. Was I just walked into grocery store after grocery store, feet on the ground, cold calling. I shot about 50%. So I'd say I talked to 25 grocery stores, and 11 of them are carrying my product now. And I've got the same plan this Christmas break. Once I get done with finals week, I'm going to just start walking into grocery stores again and see how many I can get in before Christmas.
Do you have to pay to get your product in there?
I don't know how other people have it set up. Me personally, I don't pay to get in any of the stores I'm in. My kind of advantage is all the stores I'm in are in East Central Missouri right now, so they're pretty close to home, and it's still considered a locally grown product. I build the shelf. It's like a $50 worth of materials is what it is, and it holds 28 bags and a dozen jars. And I take that in, and I sell them the product at a wholesale amount, and then they turn around and they sell it at retail, and they make their money off of it, and I make my money off of it, and we just keep the cycle going.
Is it because you are a local product and they want it to be in their grocery store? Do you think that is how you're getting in?
Yeah, the first couple for sure. And then now that people know the popcorn tastes so dang good, and it gets easier every time I go to a new store. I've got some more practice. I know that it's selling good in stores, so I'm starting to reach out a little further. I'm in a Hy-Vee now in Columbia, Missouri, which that's a pretty big store. I was very happy when I got in there, and it's selling really good. So hopefully getting some more Hy-Vees here soon and just keep on expanding.
How do you know which popcorn, like what tastes good? How do you know what people are liking and what they don't?
Yeah, so it's a lot of listening to the consumer. I don't grow a product and then try to shove it down
That's
their
a
throat.
dumb idea. It's a stupid idea. No.
Yeah, if nobody likes popcorn, I don't want to sell it to them. But if they enjoy popcorn and they're going to buy it anyways, they might as well be buying mine. So I just got to figure out what they're looking for. People love yellow popcorn because it pops real big, fills up a bowl fast, has a lot of flavor, but it tends to have holes that get stuck in your teeth. So there's a large group of people that like white popcorn because it's smaller and more tender and doesn't get those dang things stuck in your teeth. And then also the red and blue popcorn, that's kind of just a fun snack. People love to see the different colors. It's kind of a neat thing. So I'll be selling a lot of that over Christmas break here now that harvest is over, and we're going to start getting it cleaned up and ready for market.
So this is just straight popcorn. This isn't any of the flavored stuff?
Correct. So currently I'm only selling the kernels, and the reason I only sell the kernels is because there's a lot of local kettle corn companies that I work with. I provide the kernels to them, and then they pop it. And if I started popping it myself, I would lose a large customer base that buys in bulk because I'm directly competing with them. So I'll stick to the farming side of it, and I'll let them handle the popping for now, and we'll see what the future holds.
What if you go to your neighbor, Kylie Epperson, and say, hey, give me a bunch of bacon grease, and then you put your popcorn seeds in bacon grease, and then you could sell that as bacon-flavored popcorn?
We might have something there. Yeah, we might have to get a product together.
I get 20% of that idea.
We'll be sure to cut you in on it.
Yeah, I would think so. It is a foreign concept to people in agriculture, what you're doing. I mean, to some people in agriculture, what you're doing is that you're going out and you're actually trying to sell your products instead of just delivering it to an ethanol plant or delivering it to an elevator or wherever you're going with it. I know you're just a senior in college, but you are already got some things figured out that a lot of people that farm their whole life had not. Here, I'm going to put you in an uncomfortable position. I want you to give some advice to other farmers about how to view selling your products.
Okay. Oh, let's see here. Let's see if I can word this without making anyone hate me.
Yeah, good luck, buddy.
So the question was how they could sell their products similarly, or
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, because you are looking at stuff differently than a guy that's been farming his whole life and has never really had to worry about where his product's going.
I would say get creative. So you got to figure out what your market is for your product and then become the best at selling it at the price that you need of that product. So for me in popcorn, I've got to figure out how to differentiate myself on the shelf from Orville or Pop Weaver. With corn and soybeans, your marketing advantage would be being the lowest cost producer, or being a great marketer, developing relationships. That's one thing I've learned just in the past 2 to 3 years is how important relationships are. I just always thought, well, I'll just do my thing here on the farm and then I'll take it into town and call it good. But, having a great relationship with a grain buyer somewhere, just talking to the right neighbors and figuring out where they're selling their products. Another thing I did this year, growing soybeans, instead of growing Liberty or dicamba beans, I grew non-GMOs, and I sprayed them with just as much chemical, if not more, than you would conventional beans. I didn't do it to do less chemical. There was just $1.50 premium there per bushel. And that came from networking with some neighbors and then talking to the right grain buyers in the city and developing those relationships in order to get that grain sold. Yeah, I would say look for any niche that you can find in the market to differentiate yourself from your neighbors. And that's how I'm going to survive this, the way the markets are now. And I'm sure other people are doing the exact same thing.
Are you still farming just 6 acres?
No. So I got creative picking up ground too. I've had Craigslist ads and Facebook ads and just word of mouth, but just shy of 200 acres is what I had this year. I'm hoping that I'll be around 300 before I graduate. So
wow.
I'm on track to do that. It's going to be very hectic. I better graduate on time, because if I'm going to try to combine 300 acres and take classes next fall, that's going to be horrendous. So if I don't graduate on time, we're going to have a mess next fall.
This is interesting. So did you just go out on Craigslist and say, hey, I'm some young guy that's trying to buy an engagement ring at Harbor Freight and I want to rent ground to get started farming? Did you something like that?
I took pictures of my operation and just kind of, this is what my fields look like. And I put 5 or 10 pictures up on this ad. I said, I'm a young farmer. I'm not looking for any handouts, because I don't want any extra help. I'm not just begging for help or anything free. But if you're looking to work with a young farmer who's trying to get going, I'm your guy, and I treat your ground just as good as I treat something that was my own. And I'm not interested in stealing ground or trying to bid up rents or take ground from anyone. I'm just looking for a simple opportunity. I grab every opportunity that comes my direction, and I had a guy call me out of the blue, said he saw my ad, it impressed him, and got 40 acres rented, just like that. I spent 15 minutes on a Craigslist ad, and a guy from the city called and said he deer hunted out there, and he had a guy farming it currently who wasn't going to be farming it the next year, and he was looking for someone, and my ad came across his computer, and he really stood out to him. So I got that opportunity there. And then this year I was looking for some ground to put popcorn on, and I just put a Facebook ad. Said the same thing. I don't want to steal ground or bid anything up, but I'd love an opportunity. And I got another 30 acres that way. So just trying to be polite, not trying to take over the whole world, but find your spot in the market. And they're willing to help out a young guy if they can. And it's been really great so far. And I think it does help somewhat that I don't come from a farming family. They want to see a new guy in the area. I think they like the energy that I bring. And as long as I can keep the rent paid on time, they're happy with it. So it's been going good.
There was a point in my farming career where I was growing and I thought I had it all figured out. So when ground came available, I just rented it. I mean, I thought, well, everything pencils, everything's all right. If somebody else is making it at this money, then I can. Then you get to farming it and you're like, this farm sucks. I can't, I'm not making a profit. And then eventually you let it go. Do you look at whether you can make a profit on this and this is not a bash because I did it the same thing, or are you just trying to build a base at this point?
All of the ground I rent, I don't have a flat dollar rate in mind whenever I go to rent ground. Our land around here is so variable. It can be flat and great ground that's renting for $250, or it can be surrounded by trees and little patches that's going for $100 an acre. It's kind of crazy how much it changes in just 5 to 10 miles. So I base what I'm able to pay for rent on each individual farm. And I kind of have a dollar amount in mind once I see the ground. If they let me, I'll take a soil test on it just to kind of get an idea of what's there. But it's hard to turn down a piece of ground.
It is.
Whenever you don't have that much.
Yeah.
So as long as it's not completely eroded and destroyed, I'll take a chance on it. And been very lucky. All the ground I've started with, I've never lost a piece of ground so far. And it's all treated me good so far. I've kept good APHs on my ground. And it does help somewhat that I can sell popcorn by the pound instead of corn by the bushel.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have to raise 200 bushel popcorn. I don't even know if that's possible. But if we have a down year drought and I raise 25 or 30 bushel popcorn, I might not make money, but I'm not going to lose my butt on it.
Okay.
So that helps too, diversifying into niche crops. You're not going to take a great of a chance on it if you know you can sell it by the pound instead of the bushel.
You picked up farm ground using the old interweb. Do you ever sell your popcorn on the internet?
Oh, yeah. One thing I've had to get good with is delegating tasks, something I'm not good at. I've probably got a friend that's great at it. I'm good at raising popcorn. I'm not good at building websites, but I've got a friend that I'm in school with, and he's awesome at building websites. So I had him build me a website, and I'm able to sell it through there. I've got an online store. I don't believe any of the grocery stores I'm in, they carry it in the store, but I don't know if it's on their websites. So I'm able to ship to 48 states through my website, and then people locally are able to buy it through stores, and that's kind of how I market it all.
I got to imagine there's so many little different things, like even when you said that with the 48 states and all that, and whether you have do you carry insurance in case someone bites down on a hole and shatters his tooth? I mean, is this all stuff that you had to figure out?
Oh, yeah. I tackled it as it came to me. I just started climbing the mountain and figuring out what needed to be figured out as it came to me. So I take the popcorn to Central Kansas to Polanski Seed Company, and they clean the seed after we combine it, because the last thing I want is to send a bag of popcorn to California or Colorado or somewhere, and they find a dead grasshopper, which is very common to find in a grain tank after you combine, but you don't want that ended up in a 2-pound package going to someone through a website.
They kind of frown on that.
Yeah, yeah, they do, and it hasn't happened yet, thank goodness. But I pay Polanski Seed. They run it through a seed cleaner and then a gravity table, and then they also color sort it, which is a really interesting machine, and they bag it up in 50-pound bags, and they send it back to me on pallets. And then from there, I sell those 50-pound bags to kettle corn companies or concession stands in bulk, or I'll break open that 50-pound bag and then put it into 2-pound bags or mason jars, and that's what goes to grocery stores.
Do people still have the poppers?
Like what you'd use on the stovetop, like the whirly poppers? Or
I don't know. I remember when I was a kid, they had this thing popper, and it would blow when the popcorn popped. The air would blow it up and over and into the bowl. I don't think we have anything in our house that would actually pop popcorn anymore.
Oh, you need to get something because it's a good snack. It's a healthy snack too. My favorites, my mom made the recipe just playing around. She popped it on the stove in a pot. She'll do a spoonful of coconut oil and then a spoonful of sugar, and it's like homemade kettle corn. And it's really bad for you, but man, it tastes good.
All right. Well, no, we've all of a sudden we've turned into a blog here. So you got a spoonful of coconut oil and a spoonful of sugar. And how much popcorn?
We kind of just guess. 2 handfuls gets it pretty good.
There's no guessing here, Gavin. I mean, I want to do this right.
Well, I wish I could show you how much I can hold in my hand. I've never measured it out. I just know 2 handfuls is how much fills up our bowl. It depends on how big your bowl is you're popping in.
I got Trump hands. I don't know.
Just shake it until it pops and then let it cool down, and you've got a dang good snack.
You got to sit there and shake the thing, right? So it doesn't burn to the bottom.
Yep, that keeps the kernels that eventually pop, that keeps them from burning on the bottom. You want to keep shaking it so they go to the top, and then the kernels that aren't popped stay on the bottom, and those stay in the oil and pop.
Okay, what about the things where you used to buy and you put it on the stove and they would pop and the little aluminum foil would expand and then you had this aluminum balloon looking thing?
So I've never used one of those, but I've seen them and I've heard people talk about them. And I guess you can still buy them online if you go to the right places, but I've never personally used that. I do think they look cool, though.
Yeah, that's like Americana right there. Yeah, very cool. Okay, I've had an incredible opportunity the last few years to travel around the country. And when I talk to younger farmers that are starting out with very small acres, it seems like 90% of them were all gung-ho on growing hemp. They thought that's how they were going to get big and rich or that. Have you looked at that?
I personally have not. I've got a couple friends that I talk to through social media, through Snapchat and Instagram, and they've tried it, and I haven't actually touched base with them on how their harvest turned out. But I have read a few articles that says there's a whole lot of it out there, nowhere to go with it. So I personally haven't looked at trying to grow it, but if that market eventually becomes a thing and the infrastructure is built behind it and it's viable, definitely I would look at trying a few acres for sure.
Okay, you've got sunflowers, you got soybeans, you got popcorn. Is there anything else coming in the future?
Something I would kind of like to try, and this is the first time I've said it out loud, so I guess you'll be the first person to get inside my brain.
Sweet.
I really want to work on going direct to whoever's going to be using the product. So I've thought about tossing some kinds of different varieties of wheat and networking with, say bakeries or mills across the U.S. And I grow their production, whatever they need. Say they need 2 acres of production worth of this specific variety of wheat because that's what they make their bread with and that's what works good for them. If I can grow that for them, document the process throughout the year, and then also mill it and bag it, it comes directly from my farm and goes straight to their bakery. Maybe give them a 3-minute video of talking about it in the summer, and they can show that off to their customers and says, this wheat that you're eating right here came from this field in Missouri grown by this farmer, and kind of keeping track of the whole process along the way to add a little something extra to that food. So I thought about doing that. Since I've got the popcorn and the sunflowers, I'm going to need to get a good seed cleaner eventually. I'm just going to have so much production, I want to clean it myself. And if I'm going to be cleaning my own crops, I might as well be cleaning wheat and soybeans and who knows what else, for other farmers also. But I think that's going to be something that comes along in the future. Now that the internet is so big and everyone's so connected, they're going to want to know where their food comes from precisely. Not everyone will. Most people just want to make sure their food's safe. But for the people that do want to know where their food's coming from, I want to provide that. And if I can do that growing smaller amounts of more neat foods and go straight to bakeries and grocery stores with that, I would love to fill that niche.
Yeah, I agree with you, especially on the smaller scales. If you want to play into the people that want to know more about their food and are willing to pay for that, then, hey, more power to you. You brought up social media. This is more curiosity on my part. For you, you darn Utes, you kids, you punks, and that. So what you mentioned Snapchat, you mentioned Instagram. Like maybe more towards the agriculture side, where do you feel your age group is looking at social media?
So I love Instagram, and that's where I've made most of my connection and do most of my networking through. That's my favorite platform. I like seeing pictures of other people's operations, and then if they have an operation that interests me, I'll message them or they message me, and we bounce some ideas back and forth, and then if we end up getting each other's phone numbers, we'll talk on the phone. But most of those connections are first made through Instagram, for me at least. I've just started playing around on Twitter, and that's a good platform also. And then Snapchat's kind of just for fun. That's just how I communicate with people. I don't do a whole lot on there other than just talk to my friends. But Instagram is personally my favorite. I love that platform, and I'm able to get sales from it if people see my products and they end up going to my website to order, funnel them that direction, or just to meet people and get new ideas for what might work on your operation. I really like Instagram the most. A new app I've started playing on is TikTok.
Oh,
have you ever heard of TikTok?
Come on. Yes, I was going to get on TikTok when it first came out, and my daughter said, don't, because you'll be the creepy old guy with an app with just nothing but 14-year-old girls.
That's about how I was whenever I got on, because like you said, it's all teenagers. That's who gets on the new apps first, or the young kids. But here recently, there's been more people, and it's starting to diversify, and the app's changing a little bit. I really like TikTok because it's short. You can do a 15 or 30-second clip, and most of the people, it's all comedy and being funny. But I decided, well, I'm just going to do short clips from my farm. And I had a video last week. It got 1.5 million views, which is just, I can't even fathom that. I can't even put that number in my head, how many times people watch that. 225,000 likes. TikTok's at a spot right now where Instagram was 5 years ago and where Facebook was 9 to 10 years ago. It's in its infancy, and the people that are on it now and build a following before it gets huge, they're going to be the ones that benefit the most from it. So, yeah, I'm the weird kid that's on it now, but I've got 15,000 followers already, and I've got friends that are just getting it here the past couple weeks, and they struggle to get more than a couple hundred because there's so many people entering that space now. So I think that's going to grow pretty huge the next year or two, TikTok. We'll see where it goes, but I have fun on it. I like playing around.
All right, you didn't mention Facebook, and honestly, that to me, to selling popcorn, I would think that would be your go-to, but that's not something you're in on, right?
So I am on Facebook. I've got a personal page and then Spoor Farms page. I never had Facebook until I started my farming operation. And the only reason I created a personal page was because they wouldn't let me have a business page without having a personal page.
Yeah.
So I had to make my own and then made the business page. And that's where I was getting a lot of my business last year through Spoor Farms and the popcorn. Every Sunday after church, I would go out and I'd make a 3-minute video of what's going on in my popcorn field for anyone that's interested. This is where it's at. This is what's going on. For those of you who aren't from a farm, this is what the popcorn's doing. And I started getting a lot of followers and a lot of likes from that. And then after harvest, all those people, ended up buying it for Christmas. I've kind of fell off on Facebook because I'm spending more time on other apps, but I am going to start running some Facebook ads, I think. I've never used those in the past, but I guess they're pretty useful, and some people in the industry have said they've had good luck with them. So I'm going to try some Facebook ads here around Christmas now.
Okay, so is it safe for old people to get on TikTok without looking creepy?
Well, I'm not an old person, so I can't speak for them, but I do have a good time. As a 22-year-old, you have to find the right pages to follow. I don't go follow 12-year-olds posting whatever they're posting, but if you find some farmers and watch their videos or whatever else, there's good content on there. But yeah, I guess I can't speak for the older generation. I can only speak for me, but I get along good on it.
Huh. Okay. All right.
So I think the shark farmer needs a TikTok.
I had Vine. I had a huge Vine, and then they pulled that. TikTok is basically Vine on steroids, but I'll let that go. Okay, Gavin, I'll just let it go. They're gone. It's done. Whatever. Okay.
Well, if you had a big following on Vine, you'd do great on TikTok. It's basically the same thing.
So in the future, you're going to grow. You're going to just keep looking at what consumers want. You're going to go buy a engagement ring this afternoon. I mean, yes, it seems like you've got a lot figured out at a very young age, and it's impressive, especially when it's a generation your age catches a lot of crap for not wanting to, work, for not wanting to, do anything but play Fortnite or that. I think it's very impressive what you've built.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, it's hectic, and by no means do I have everything figured out. You probably forgot more than I've ever learned, but you have to be an open book and be willing to accept new knowledge as it comes your direction. The way I looked at it whenever I started my operation is I'm a young kid. Even if everything goes completely wrong, when I'm 26, I'm still young as heck. Something terrible happens, prices stay super low, and I'm not able to get anything sold. I've still got that degree. I can go into town and get a good job. So why not try it? Why not try to build this farm when I'm young? And that's one of my competitive advantages. I don't have a wife or kids or a house payment yet. I can live really cheap if I need to while I get this ball rolling. If I wanted to start this same business when I was 35, it would be 10 times harder. So I might as well try to start it now and see where I can take it.
Yeah, you can live on popcorn. All right, we've talked about it, but where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so on Instagram, if you look up Gavin Spoor, Facebook the same, Gavin Spoor or Spoor Farms. If you're on TikTok, I'm the popcorn farmer. And then on Twitter, it's also Gavin_Spoor. So, and then the website, spoorfarms.com.
Yeah, and Spoor is SPOOR for everybody that wants to find you. Well, Gavin, it's impressive what you've done. I do want to thank Kylie Epperson for giving me your name to get you interviewed. Yes, I look at you and I see a lot of things that people in agriculture probably should be doing. I will be first to admit that, when I grow corn and soybeans, I just kind of know what I want to market them. I don't really think about where they go past when they leave the farm. I think what you're doing is very interesting, and I think you're going to be a huge success. So I really want to thank you for coming on and talking to us today.
Yeah, I appreciate the time that we've had here and good discussions.
Well, Gavin Spoor from Martinsburg, Missouri, thank you so much for being on, and everybody else. We'll catch you next week.
And thank you for listening to the Shark Farmer Podcast. I am your host, Rob Sharkey. Please visit us at www.sharkyfarms.com. And just search for Shark Farmer to follow me on Twitter. Later.